Hi, this is Bob Weiss. I'm the host of Shaking Your World. Cheers. Folks, welcome home. Another edition of Shaking Your World. Here we are with the Tell Me a Story, and our good friend Phil is back in the house today. And I'm going to put him in an awkward position because I want to address some of the political situations taking place in our city and our state. And not that I anticipate that Phil has any particular answers beyond what anybody else does. It's just that I want to vent for a moment with somebody that has the earpiece of someone at some point. So, Phil, first of all, welcome home. It's good to have you back.
Great to be Thank you.
It's been a little kick here, and I'm looking forward to great things and seeing you and your wife back for the autumn season. And there we are. Now, I want to talk about the upstairs because we have not had a chance to get you up there on both the enhanced second floor this year, and now we're on the fourth floor, the very tippy top of the building. Wow. Staircases keep on going up, and you got this great 360-degree vista, and it is one sexy little space that you should be bringing your wife to at some point. Hone Bridge, with one side of us, you've got this beautiful $8 million stained glass water tower on that side, but the entire city is right in front of us. And it really is, you think that you're in Barcelona, you think that you're in Spain. It's marvelous. So I want to get you up there. But now let's talk, if you don't mind, about politics.
Sure.
And we have a mess going on in the city that could easily go one way or the other. And I am optimistic that with a change of the head, once Mr. Barrett is gone to Luxembourg, that we will get someone in that position who will do us a little bit better, be a little bit more linked into current situations. Thoughts?
Well, there's going to be a lot of choices. I'll tell you that right now. A lot of people are throwing their hat in the ring or thinking about it, and there will be many, many choices. And some of the choices are going to be less palatable, I think, for someone like yourself, just from what I know of you. But I think there's going to be a lot of people who care and can get some things done. I really do. They're going to come from all different spectrums. They're going to come from within City Hall, outside of City Hall, probably from different cities to come in to run. Who knows, maybe different states. Been hearing a lot of things. So, yeah, it's a very sought after position.
It is, and I think that, and I don't want to pin you down on anything or put you in an awkward situation, so you don't have to comment or respond if you don't wish to. I think that at the moment, Chevy Johnson is the front runner, and I think he is a guy that has great conviction for the city, and I think that he really is one of those people that would find a way to bring things together and make it more cohesive. There are others as well. I think that Ernell Lucas is a darn nice guy, and I think he has the best thoughts. But if you were to poll 20 people on the street who the sheriff is, no one's going to know.
Sure.
So, and it's all about name recognition, like anything else in marketing, right? I think that Bob Donovan's time has come and gone. I just heard the other day that our alderman here, Jose Perez, is going to run as well. And
I didn't hear that.
I hear a lot of things, whether they're factual or not, I don't know.
All right.
And I wish him well. I think he is a guy that has some really interesting and keen insight for things. I wouldn't be convinced that he has the touch throughout the rest of the city that's necessary to get those votes in. I heard that Michael Sampson is going to run, and Michael has been around for years as an event coordinator, planner, occasional restaurateur, does major events that are, quite frankly, based on alcohol in the city, any number of things that take place, and I'm not sure that, I think Michael has, again, great conviction. He's young, he looks the part, he's tall, and that works against Chevy, quite frankly. And just statistically, those people that are taller and have that look have a better opportunity to matriculate and become head of whatever they're running for. I do think that we have a Evan. Please join us. And I think that
is this for me?
That's for you.
Woohoo! How are you, Judge? How are you?
We're now being joined by our other good friend Evan, who's going to pony up and have a little bourbon and a cigar and talk smart and
Me never.
Maybe people think he knows what's going on.
Much
Me
smarter,
neither.
much smarter than me.
And I did.
Much smarter.
Fortunately,
I just pretend.
this takes some of the onus off of Phil from having to respond to some things because here you guys are, okay, well, I'm from Greece. What do I know? Okay. Anyway, there's a few other players as well whose names are bandied around on a regular basis, and I think that, here's part of my mantra forever is that we have to get people that are statesmen and not politicians. Somebody, regardless of the party, and by the way, it seems like they're all Democrats right now. Milwaukee, of course,
It actually
right?
does. Yeah.
So they're going to be eating themselves, right?
Right.
But I mean, what they have to do is they have to find a way to reach across that aisle, no matter what you are, libertarian, it doesn't matter, and shake that hand and find out how you can build this coalition to improve the city of Milwaukee. And now, a little prematurely, I want to say the same thing takes place in Madison. We've got to have someone who's going to do the same thing. And I think that for the longest time, our assembly is just kind of hanging out and they're just entrenched, and that's you. And they are just of the opinion that, they can stall everything that's taking place. They don't have to do a darn thing. Well, you're stalling things. You are not progressing the state of Wisconsin. And after all, forward is the byword, right?
It is.
So you
It's
went to
our motto.
school at Madison. You went to law school at Madison.
Did.
And as Madison goes, you think about Milwaukee as the powerhouse where the money is, but yes, but politically, everything revolves around what not necessarily the governor, but the state assembly does and how they comport themselves, I think, and what they don't do. So I'd like to see the lieutenant governor, whomever that may or may not be, actually take a more active role as much as statutorily they can and try to lean on that assembly and try to get these representatives to do something, because that's, in my mind, that's really the hot button for them that they can kind of push and direct things. The governor's the governor. But I think the lieutenant governor can push those buttons and make them do something. And I think we really need that to take place, which will funnel down not just for Madison, not just for Shawano, but Milwaukee, Racine, for everything. Yes, no, maybe?
Well, just circling back to the first one you were talking about Chevy,
Sure.
and I love Chevy. Great man, great guy. I think he has a lot of conviction. I think he's, obviously he's going to have his foot in the door. When and if, when, I should say not if, when Mayor Barrett leaves, depending on how much time there is, that's going to give him a really either strategical leg up or it's going to hurt him, just depending on how things go, right? And he understands that. He knows that too. Obviously, it's no secret. It's going to be a time for Milwaukeeans to see what he can do, right? In a very short time. And it may not be as fair just because there's a lot of things going on in Milwaukee. And there's a lot of things that are going to be rough. With budgets and COVID and things like that. It's going to be tough. So I think how he reacts to it and is proactive to those things, I think will help him a lot. But, again, will Milwaukee give him a break? Just knowing the things he's getting into? It's a great question. But you're right. I don't know many folks that are on the Republican side of things necessarily that are running. I don't think I know of one, actually, that I can actually think of.
And in so many ways that would be a kiss of death anyway in Milwaukee, wouldn't it? I'm a Republican.
It would be rough.
Yeah.
It'd be tough. It'd be tough to get elected, no doubt. But yeah, that's an interesting point. As far as Madison's concerned, that's really interesting. As far as the lieutenant governor having a little bit more play and role in things, not a bad idea. We're talking like president, vice president, right? Same thing. Like, what's their role? How much can they get done? Well, a heck of a lot, right? If they really take ownership of the position, I think it could really help out the state, no doubt.
Well, Mandelo's going to have his hands full as he leaves the lieutenant governor's office and runs for Senate. And there's a lot of people running for Senate right now as well, and for Congress. It's a dream for some people.
U.S. Senate you're talking about, yes.
Yeah. So, yes, we're talking United States Senate. So I think that if you're an ad agency that specializes in political agendas and elections, this is the panacea for you, because you got so many players that all think they have an opportunity for something, and someone is going to win this thing.
There will be someone.
There will be someone.
Someone will
and
win
hopefully
this
it's the right person for Milwaukee and for the state. time, I suppose, will tell.
Absolutely.
And even after that person gets there, I mean, I, for any number of reasons, would want nothing to do with either job, quite frankly. And I can understand why there aren't a lot of suitable players pursuing this, just because of the deep pit that you are in, and you are, no matter what you do and your best intentions, you are not going to make people happy.
Right.
And we are so segregated, we are so undereducated now, we are so underfinanced in so many ways. We don't have an effective transportation system set up. We don't have an effective healthcare system set up. We don't have mental health care situation set up, and you have to face this on a daily basis. And I would guess that this is the biggest factor affecting our society is our mental health issues. And what can we do with these things? We have to find some way to be more proactive with this than we are. And it's a mess.
I mean, there's no one answer, and you're right. We deal with it every single day, with mental health. A lot of our the citations that come across, have to do with somebody who has a mental health issue.
Sure.
And obviously, we'll never be able to pay a citation. So,
Right.
It's slippery slope. So, I mean, what we try to do is we try to get them some help before it gets to that point where. But recognizing it sometimes is difficult too.
Yep.
It really is, because there's levels. Right?
I don't want to interrupt here, but I think the issue of the discourse is that, unfortunately, the solutions have been politicized. So, again, I think that you should take politics out of science, and everybody work towards the goal, which the goal is, of course, that some people should be taken care of and recognized, and that shouldn't be a Republican issue, it shouldn't be a Democratic issue, it should be, as you say, a city issue or a state issue.
No, a human issue. But
I was gonna say,
you just got back from Greece. You're there again for a couple of months, right?
Yeah.
How are things going there?
In what sense?
Yeah, well, I mean, from a social standpoint.
more than the Giannis sense.
The current government is identified as center-right.
Okay.
So the problem the current government has is that the main power in the government are the centrists, but they have to tolerate the extreme right part of the government. So they have to appease them in order to remain in power, which of course gives the opportunity to the left to scream and say, "Hey, look who you have in your midst. You have despicable so and so." And again, but I think the current government so far is managing. The economy is doing much better since the so-called socialist government fell, and the so-called socialist government was anything but, just like nefarious leftist ideas with no program, nothing. So yeah, so the government they're doing much better now, despite the fact that they made a couple of hiccups with the pandemic and people are upset with them. Despite that, they're still way ahead of the polls. So.
And people will always be upset, by the way. It doesn't matter how good you are at something.
Yeah.
Oh, exactly.
Human nature.
You have the utopian society.
Sure.
People still be PO'd about something. Yeah, definitely.
But again, as you say, if you're in business you learn conflict resolution, and you basically learn how to conduct a successful discussion, how to, and you start by finding out what your common goals are, and then you ignore the distractions and you define what those common goals are and decide and work on those.
Sure.
The problem is that the way the political discourse is right now, nobody knows what their common goals are. Even things as simple as you've noticed, vaccination has been politicized. So there you go. So hey, we have to take it a notch down, forget the divides, find out what our common goals are, and work towards the common goals.
Sounds so
Couldn't agree
simplistic,
more.
doesn't it?
No, it is, but it's just so difficult to do. So
Precisely.
difficult to do.
I agree with you. It's very difficult to do at this point.
You know,
where
I
we
just
are
heard
now.
about something, switching gears a little bit. So I don't know if you deal with evictions at all in your court.
We don't.
Good. But I've read about something, the cash for keys concept. So you find out that someone's in difficulty, maybe they defaulted for 1 month and they have no interest in, pursuing the terms of the lease, that there are a number of landlords, and I've read about this in New York, I don't know if it's in this area or not, but where the landlord will meet the tenant and say, here's the deal, I'm going to take some pictures now, there's no damage, you're gone in 3 days, I'll give you a check for $500, give me the keys back, and then you get half your deposit back. And that then takes all the onus off the courts, take the pressure off them anyway, because these are people that are not going to be in a position to pay back anyway and to handle the legal fees. The courts are just swollen right now with a backload of cases, and this takes some of the onus off of that. And it's a cleaner thing anyway, so you don't do damage to people that are ill prepared to accommodate this anyway, right? So I looked at this and I reread this a couple times. I said, well, actually, this kind of makes sense to me. So you don't have the attorneys involved, you don't tie up the court's time, you've got your property back, and they are relatively unscathed and on their way with some cash in pocket, and it's maybe a cleaner scenario.
Has it worked?
Apparently, with those people, those landlords that I've read about in New York, it has worked successfully for them. Cash for keys, they call it.
Cash for keys.
Uh-oh.
So, and if you think about this, just like you were saying about business, you find a way to accommodate things. You find a rational point that somewhere's there, and then you move forward. Now, not everyone can do that, and I'm thinking, of course, those poor SOBs that are on the bench for family court, man, you've got to be pulling your hair out, because there is no rational explanation for so many things to take place, as I well know. And it's just got its own machinations, and they're ugly. But if you get the opportunity to do this, cash your keys, yes.
That's an interesting concept.
Well, it's again, it's what you were saying, what we were talking before earlier, recognizing that if something goes in court, it costs money and it's going to take a long time, and it could be potentially detrimental to both sides. So you find out what is the price.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I knew a judge well who said, in his mind, the best scenario is that both people leave unhappy. And he said, then I'm not showing favoritism, and the justice is done ostensibly, right? They're both unhappy, and they don't want to be back, right? Okay, there's a lesson, right? So.
Hey, you got to tell me who said that after we're done.
Anyway, is that the goal? Well, sometimes it is.
There we are.
I mean, if the goal is to reduce traffic in the courts and gridlock, yes, that's
Well, you've got to be back
one
up
way to do it.
now until next summer, for gosh sakes.
We're starting to catch up. It's been just an amazing job with our entire staff, dealing with the pandemic and doing the virtual court and things like that. I mean, the management, IT, our clerks, people up front. I mean, like, everybody has been really good. We have a really excellent staff, thank God, because they pulled us through this. And without them, we would not be in the position we're in. And that's not caught up, but catching up. We can see light at the end of the tunnel. I think we're in a lot better position than many other courts out there. And I mean every court. So but we've always run a really efficient court. We have a good system in place. And we just have really good people working for us, so they really care.
Well, that's a big difference too. I mean, I've obviously long talked about the value of my staff and what a tremendous asset they are, and you have to look at that all the time. But people think about going to court, and they think about jamming up the judge, but it's not the judge; it's the 12 support people that work with him or more, whatever that number might be, every single day to get everything moving. And then you've got this whole paper chase going on. It is huge, insurmountable.
It is.
It absolutely is. And I know my wife and I commented many times, and just cannot believe we're just like, how do you get such good people working for you? It's just amazing. Everybody here is so good. It
Well,
seems like everybody's good. You know, that's a cool thing. It's a good place to be at.
Well,
obviously.
The implied continuation of that statement is, how do you get so many good people work for you at the prices at which they're paid?
I think my staff is pretty unhappy to get here. So
No, I'm not talking about your staff. I'm talking about, unfortunately,
Oh, you mean city staff?
city staff, unfortunately, yes.
Yeah, I mean, well, you know, the city treats them well too. There's some good benefits.
Sure.
And things, and I mean, I love working for the city. I mean, just because I love this city so much, and I know you do too. I mean, it's like there's a lot of love for this city.
this is a great city. There's no question about
I just
that.
love it.
And I'm very hopeful that the next head is going to make a change for the good, because we are so close from being recognized everywhere as being that standout city in the country. Obviously not as big as New York and not as powerful as DC, and not what Chicago is kind of eroding into. But Milwaukee's a really nice place with
Really
really
is.
good people that live here.
You know,
And tremendous upside.
And speaking of the Greek stance on this, and I'm not even being coy about this, how crazy is it that somebody from Greece came over here and was one of the main people playing a sport, playing a game, to really put Milwaukee on the map and put us in the front.
Oh, Yannis.
And
Yeah, of
I'm
course.
not kidding. I mean, I am not kidding about that.
And
That's powerful. That is powerful stuff. I mean, my wife and I were in the Dominican Republic. Long story. We weren't here for the actual championship, which was just devastating because I love the Bucks. But I wear this 24/7. But just seeing how much love there was for Giannis
yeah.
worldwide. I mean,
Yeah.
and there were people there from Germany,
Yeah.
France, you know, the DR, you know, native Dominican Republicans, and you know, the United States. Everybody loved Giannis.
Yeah.
Everybody.
But
it was so cool saying.
But he's an
Milwaukee.
exceptional individual. Besides
Yes.
an exceptional, athlete, he's also an exceptional individual.
There's no doubt, and it's not just, and that was exactly what I was going to say. It's not just the basketball. is
Yeah,
it?
no.
His
It's
personality.
definitely not.
He's a real, genuine human being.
I don't know, Greece is pretty good.
The fact that it's pretty good. The fact that we could entice him to come to Milwaukee and stay in Milwaukee, because obviously a major market like Miami, Los Angeles, or whatever would be,
Well, he
rewarding
made-
him much more.
He made a point in his interview after the game, after the championship game, and he said that it would have been easy to go in a mega team and achieve this, but I feel proud because we achieved this in a small town, in a small NBA town.
He said he did it the hard way.
Yeah.
He did.
Yeah.
He's not lying. He did it the hard way. So, yeah, that was just such an excellent moment, and just to see it. And it was kind of cool being in another country when it happened, just to see how much love there was for Milwaukee and seeing it getting such recognition in the Deer District. Goodness, I mean that's just worldwide. Everybody was so excited about that.
Just reading there was a first estimate of the economic benefit of the championship to the city of Milwaukee.
I saw that.
And did you see the
I
article?
did not. No.
No, they're talking about upwards of $20-30 million just the economic benefit just for the championship, nothing else, not for the team and everything. Talking just about
The whole Deer District itself. I read it was over 50 million for just the entire year.
That's a huge number.
yeah for a city like Milwaukee. It is a huge
big
number.
number.
Sure. Well, good. Let's hope that continues on for a while. I'm almost surprised, and maybe it's taken place, but I would think that if I was a tour operator in Greece, I'd be having tours of see where Giannis was born, see where he played.
Is that happening, Evan?
Oh yeah, it is.
I
It is.
was
It
gonna
is.
say
Okay.
That
It is
should
happening.
happen.
It is
Someone should
happening,
take it.
and also again speaking about the quality of the individual, he's promoting some small teams. He's promoting some academies for young basketball players. He's building a small basketball stadium, all from his own charity money.
That's cool. That's so cool.
That's fantastic.
He's a great dude.
This perhaps is what sports really should be. It's not just the playing of the sport, but finding a way to make an impact on other people that are coming up. And obviously, you as a standout athlete,
Oh yeah, of course.
had to interact with any number of people.
We have an athlete among us. I keep.
Well, not
I,
not
I
anymore.
think of you in your judicial robes, but I'm not on your gridiron. But
More, unfortunately, Father Time's undefeated. But it really does. I mean, the impact you can make, obviously, and that's. I think Giannis is probably the best example of it, just because he is so real, he's so down to earth, and you know he's not doing it. Like I know genuinely, and a lot of people do this with cameras and things like that. He is just going out and doing stuff, and just you can just see him somewhere. You know, after that huge parade, he went with his wife and his baby alone, no bodyguards, no friends, no entourage, and they went to a place in the lake. What is it called? Barnacle Bucks.
Yeah.
They just went there by themselves. I mean, he's just like oblivious to the fame. It just doesn't matter to him. You
Yeah.
know, when it comes to
Well, the
doing
NBA
things.
certainly needs to clean up its image in so many ways,
Yeah.
and he could be the poster
Oh,
boy for
my
that as
goodness,
well.
Why don't they just? I mean, they
Right.
should just
Oh yeah.
grab him
absolutely.
and say,
Absolutely.
forefront Giannis, 'cause he's just genuine. It doesn't
Well,
change him,
so the Bucks organization, I thought, was very generous in the sense that they allowed him. He went for after the championship, went vacation in Greece, and they allowed him to take with him both the MVP Cup and the championship cup and the championship trophy, which was great, because he came out of the airport with both cups. And of course, it was like a big.
Cool.
Can't buy that.
Right?
That's,
That's awesome.
And that is a great advertisement for Milwaukee. I mean, frankly, 20 years ago in certain parts of Europe, nobody even know what Milwaukee is. I knew Milwaukee because of Al Jarreau. That's because of Al Jarreau. Yeah, I knew Milwaukee because of Al Jarreau. But you would ask people about Milwaukee, and nobody knew what Milwaukee, where Milwaukee was.
Well, like anything else in life, it is those things that are in the forefront that get the attention, and entertainers certainly are part of that, and you have to look at the NBA as part of entertainment anyway, right? Sports are entertainment. Obviously, El Jarreau is a singer's entertainment, so you need more of that, and Milwaukee's been blessed with great talent that's been here. Unfortunately, for many years, it's moved somewhere else.
Right.
That would help if we had a film board in the city of Milwaukee. So whoever the next mayor is, if you're listening in, we need a film board here that effectively can bring more, things to take place to get filmed in Milwaukee. Much of this it centers around the choices that we make, not only personally for ourselves and for our friends and the people we love, but the way that we have an outlook for the benefit of those people that we interact with, and certainly for cities and how they're going to comport themselves and connect the dots and bring things together as well. And I think that for so long we've had politicians, even in Chicago, you got His Honor that Daley was there forever, and he was really a narcissist in so many ways, looking about his own benefit and for his family, but he always felt Chicago should be at the forefront for things. He was a real homer that way. And I think we need to have that homer here for Milwaukee that's going to bring as much critical mass as we can. And the Bucks, certainly Giannis, that's a beautiful way to start. And look at all we got for theater, man. We've got great theater. We got symphony, the ballet.
I was going to say that.
We got things that Chicago doesn't have.
Restaurants.
Restaurants.
I was going to say that for the size of the city, we have a disproportionately good quality of theater, of performing arts, and that kudos to the Milwaukee businesses, because they support the foundations like the United Performing Arts Fund, and we have quality like I think Milwaukee Symphony is one of the best symphonies in the country.
I agree.
We have a very decent ballet. We have a decent opera, and great theater, very lively theater. So what you're saying about the film board makes perfect sense in that whole performing arts effort.
The more positivity and the more vitality that a city has, I would have a conjecture that this is going to impact the number of people that you see as well, because if the city feels better about itself, if the city has those things in place that provide for shelter, for education, for all the hot button issues that we have, your court calendar seems to lighten up as well, because there are fewer people that have to make poor choices to support their family or do something else. It's not everybody, obviously, because there's plenty of miscreants out there. It doesn't matter how good things are with the miscreants.
Well, and a lot of times, well, lately, and this has been going on for quite a few years, traffic. Traffic has been, it's an epidemic in Milwaukee. Bad driving. Bad driving. It is so incredibly prevalent in Milwaukee and scary. It's scary. There's just so many hit and runs and so many vehicular deaths. I mean, people are just disregarding signs and the rules of the road, which is just frightening.
So beyond just being cavalier, it almost seems that there's something else going on, as if it's, I'm not saying it's a game, but it's almost as if at that point they're fearless in the impact upon other people, or just not concerned.
And that is the scariest part, right? I mean, there's a lack of concern for others' welfare, and that is really disconcerting for me.
Yeah,
when I see that.
we just had this discussion with one of your clients here, who's a police officer, we were talking about, we saw an overturned car in the morning. He said, why would be an overturned car? We're talking about around noon. There was an overturned car. Who would drive crazily around noon?
It's right by Gold's Gym.
Yeah.
On Water Street.
And the gentleman told us that there are about 5 or 6 overturned cars per night in Milwaukee. So yes, and frankly, there is coming from cities, having lived in cities like New York and some other cities around the world, there's no traffic in Milwaukee. I mean, it's the worst you're going to delay is like 15 minutes. It's not like New York where you can be stuck for hours on a highway, So there is no real traffic. So what's the impetus? Why all this crazy driving? Why all this? Is it lack of education? Is it?
Well, I mean, a lot of it.
Is it crime related?
I mean, that could be part of it, but there's a lot of youth that are stealing cars, taking them for joyrides. So I mean, that's a big part of it. But the uptick that I've seen is just with the regular driver, afternoon driver. It doesn't matter what time it is. And usually, the crazy drivers came out at night, right? And that's what you see. No. I mean, you go to work now and you drive somewhere for any period of time, and you will see somebody going through a red light, going through a stop sign, without even a thought.
Isn't these things? Are they preoccupied looking at
That's
their phones?
part of it. That is part of it, definitely. That's definitely part of it. But I think a lack of driver's education. Now, the city of Milwaukee used to have a driver's ed program.
Sure. MPS.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And we took driver's ed in school, in high school.
How is it done now?
It's private. You have to pay to go to these classes now.
Or just become 18 and then go take your driver's test, right?
Correct. And now it's not even that. They're actually doing virtual
Yikes.
driving, which
Yikes.
is just that you cannot replicate.
No,
that.
life's not a game. No.
and it's amazing what can be done virtually.
Yeah.
That can't happen. That can't happen.
And forcing everybody to go to private schools can be a disincentive because you pay money for a private school, so there's an incentive to go less to the private school. And I agree, there's an issue of education because let's put it this way, you can study for a multiple choice exam and pass it without really understanding the theory. I'm shocked of talking to people that don't, some simple things, they don't understand that that if there is no signs, there is a priority, if the guy on the right has priority. And they don't even know that. There's a stop sign everywhere. Yeah, but what if there is no stop sign?
Right. Or passing people on
Yeah.
the bicycle, going through a stop sign or a red light, and just going right around.
All the time.
You see that all the time in our courts.
Or-
It's so dangerous. People are like, I'm just on a bicycle and there's no bikes. And I'm like, well, A, there could be, and B, if you're going around somebody in that lane and you're going through a red light or stop sign, you don't know what traffic's coming from either way. It just common sense.
Having somebody being stopped at a corner and somebody going around him to make a left. these are, these disaster scenarios, you see them every day. And,
Every day.
And as you say, stop signs are decorative in most of Milwaukee.
Well, common sense, I mean, that covers so many things that we're just not getting in the society, right? Our culture has gotten away from common sense, and I don't know if that's because your mother's not there to tell you all the time what you should be doing as a kid, but there's something that's missing, and I'd suggest it's something relatively simple. That switch is not getting turned on when kids are young enough to appreciate other people and have respect and regard for people, for things, and they're not exercising that common sense because maybe there's no ramifications. I don't know. I mean, your hands have to be tied into what you can do today for some of these miscreants as well, and I'm sure that you would perhaps have your druthers in some ways. I mean, obviously, if you can educate a person, we talked about this before, and educate them and have them wake up and see what things are and decide for themselves to make a difference, that's the ultimate situation, or that's the best outcome you could hope for, I'd imagine, right?
Right.
But probably that doesn't happen that often.
Well, it doesn't, and there's another problem, and a lot of people don't understand this. Like, our courts are non-criminal, so there's no jail time. Mm-hmm. There's no jail time, so it's all fine-based. Mm-hmm. So everything has a fine or attached to it in some way, shape, or form. Now, if you don't pay those things, not traffic, but non-traffic, there could be some jail time tied to it, arrest warrants and things like that. But the one thing that we can do is suspend driver's licenses. Now, think about that. Somebody gets their driver's license suspended. What's to stop them from continuing to drive?
Most probably will continue driving.
Most will continue to drive anyway. Yep. So what do they get? They get another, operating after suspension because their license is suspended. All right, it's another fine, it's another ticket. Well, it just keeps building and building and building. So what do you do? I mean, what's the thing? Everybody's like, well, throw them in jail. Okay, really, for driving? At what point do you do that? There's a lot of complex issues with this too.
And with all due respect, Judge, the court system is the third line of defense. The first line of defense should be education. The second line of defense should be monitoring and positive reinforcement. And if everything fails, then you have the penal system and the fines. So you should be the third line of defense. We should do something.
Agree.
Yeah, we do something for the first two lines of defense.
I mean, it would make our jobs a whole lot easier. Well, I mean, not easier, I should say, but just our calendars would be a lot lighter if we had the education portion of this before they get into the system.
And then you'd be more effective as well.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah, and we'd be able to respond to the public a lot sooner and, adjudicate cases faster, which is something that everybody wants. Defendants, the city, the judicial system, everybody wants that, right? Mm-hmm. You don't want your case lingering forever. That's awful. You have that pressure. So, yeah, I agree.
Good. Switching gears again, so you had a fine Old Elk bourbon, and I want to get you guys some
that
Woodinville.
was amazing. That was very good.
So Woodinville is the whiskey line we're going to use for the next dinner on November 18th. Will be a cigar and a bourbon dinner, and let me get those coming for you guys. And you can tell me what differences you find in that. So I'll be right back. Talk amongst yourselves.
You don't want that to happen. So Evan, I didn't even know you went to Greece. How was it?
Yeah, I got permission. Well, I was working from home anyway. So
I need 2 Woodinvilles brought back.
No,
if you
it
can find
wasn't.
someone.
Well, I was working from home anyway.
Bourbons,
and,
2 ounces, please, Neats. Thank you very much.
I had a family issue. Like I had a cousin of mine passed away, and there were. I was one of the executors of her estate, so I had to go to Greece. So at work says, well, you work from home anyway. If we find a good connection system, you can work from Greece. It doesn't make any difference. So actually worked. There were certain glitches. Sometimes somebody would set up a meeting at 4 o'clock, which was midnight in Greece. So sometimes I had to stay till midnight for a meeting. But other than that, it worked pretty fine, which proves that that we really live in a global village in a way.
Hello.
No, they had Old Elk. Let's get them the
We tried the Old Elk.
Sorry.
We tried that. It was great, by the way.
It was. Very good. was talking to Evan about his work situation. That's really cool.
Yeah.
So, I mean, did you enjoy it?
Yeah, I did work, so I didn't, play all the time, but it was good to be able to.
Evan, you were mailing it in. Come on, no, I'm kidding.
Well, look at BMO, for God's sakes. They built this Lux building.
Hey,
that
one of my
inducted more than
bosses, one of my
50%
bosses may be
used.
watching. One of my bosses may be watching this, so I work very hard every day.
I don't think so. Evan, there's 4 people that watch this. I don't think he's one of those, so you're fine, he or she.
That's so great. By the way, what do you like? What are you going to do with? You have so much
Oh, who
awesome
knows?
tape.
Who knows?
I mean, not saying me.
Yeah,
I'm not
that's the
saying
one.
I'm part of that, but I mean, I've seen your shows, and they're
Thank you.
so cool, and they're so.
Thank you.
They're like all over the world, and it's just talking to a lot of interesting people.
We are going to go to Oaxaca the end of October, so October 31st to November 5th, and we are filming some indigenous religious practices that goes along with Dia de los Muertos.
Told me you were going to do that.
And
Awesome.
then we're going to hit some
So cool.
some of the mezcal operations and some street food. And I'm going to try to get myself into a restaurant where I can actually spend a moment in their kitchen. Take one of the blondes with as well. So at the moment, it looks like I'm taking Amber and Lindsay down.
Wonderful.
And we can have a little fun with that and bring some of that back here and take some of us down there.
That's awesome. That's so cool.
So what are we going to do with it, man? I don't know. I mean,
The whole Dia de los Muertos thing is really very interesting. The whole celebration.
absolutely. Well, Day of the Dead is huge, and since this happens to be right here, this is a lovely whiskey that we're going to be featuring November 18th. So we have 3 other products that are coming online.
Woodinville,
Woodinville,
and it's made in.
Washington State, I believe.
Oh wow, interesting.
So Woodinville would go back with the Douglas fir farming or whatever they did to cut those things down, the timber
Right.
back in the day. But I thought they did just a beautiful job with that. So we're happy to have them. And we're doing,
You can smell the port casks. It says that it's
so
aged in
good.
port casks.
Yeah,
you
isn't that
can
nice?
Definitely smell
I love
it.
it.
So we're doing 3 flavors of cigars that are all from Romeo Julieta. So we're doing a Nicaraguan, we're doing a Dominican, and we're doing a Cuban as
Romeo
well.
Julieta, the original.
So it should be a real nice little play for that.
Awesome.
Yeah. So I look forward to you guys coming to that, of course. I presume you're still going to be in town.
When are we talking about?
November
Yes,
18th?
Yeah, probably.
The week before
Yeah,
Thanksgiving.
definitely will be here. Interesting. And I love Romeo's.
What day is that on?
Thursday.
Okay, cool. Because I was like, Saturdays, the wife and I have Badger season tickets. My son
Yep.
goes to Madison
Yep.
now, so we like to go up there and spend some time with them, go to the games.
Yeah. So
Well,
what's with those Badgers this year?
Your son plays football like you?
No. He's a student. Yeah, he's a student
okay.
there. Yeah, he transferred there this year, so it was just, it was really cool.
You don't mind if I stick my nose in your glass at all, do you? Good stuff.
It was excellent. Just to see him be accepted and go there, it was really a nice surprise because he was going to Brighton Stratton for 2 years and then transferred. So, yeah, couldn't be prouder. I'm proud of whatever he does, but it just took it all. And I even told his mom, I said, as if this kid could not have made me prouder, and now he's going to Madison, which he knows how much it means.
Oh,
to
yeah.
me. He knows.
Congratulations.
So, yeah, thank you. It was really a neat thing. But I'm taking actually the Michigan game. So you talk about the Badgers. I'm going this Saturday, and I'm taking my mom. I'm taking
Wow.
my mom to the game. So it's Barry Alvarez weekend.
Yeah.
We're celebrating Barry
Yeah.
this weekend, and my mom's a huge Barry fan. Obviously, he was the one that was my first coach, and
Yep.
it was his first year in 1990. So way back when. So, it's the first game my mom's been to since my dad died. So it's going to mean a lot to me, to my mom. And my mom's 83 and she's still super, super lively and sprite and just a wonderful, amazing woman. She's just the best. She's the best. So I'm really looking forward to that. It's going to be a lot of fun. My wife's coming up. We're going to meet my son there, have a nice lunch, tailgate a little bit, and then go to the games.
Congratulations. That's beautiful.
Just Chavez, your mother is also of Mexican descent? Or?
No, my dad was.
Your dad
Yeah, my
was.
dad was. My mom is Irish. actually.
Oh, interesting.
Yes,
How nice.
Yeah, she's Irish. So McCarran is her
okay.
last name. With an O, not E-N, O-M. And I actually, for the first time ever, met somebody that spelled it O-N rather than E-N not too long ago. I think it might have been in the Dominican Republic. Honestly,
Of all places.
right? I just couldn't believe it. I was like,
It's beautiful.
It's funny because he asked me. He goes, "O-N?" I said, "O-N." Yes. He's like, "That's how I spell mine." And I was like, "Wow."
Everyone should.
More O-N.
Good for you. So how did you like the DR?
I loved it. It was. I mean, obviously the weather is just amazing. The beaches are just wonderful. It was just. It was a nice pause on our life for a week, and it was during our anniversary. And the reason we were there during the Bucks run was because normally during non-COVID times, the NBA championship is the month before. We had booked this already, so we're locked in. We got to go, And I actually thought, and I asked my wife, "Can we change this? If I can do it, can we change it?" And she's like, "Absolutely." And we looked, and we couldn't make it work because it was for a week, and we couldn't do it. But I thought it was lovely. I mean,
Excellent.
I just thought it was wonderful, and obviously went to the Don Lucas cigar shop, which was awesome. Took a tour there. They were great.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah,
So.
it's a nice place. It really is. I enjoyed it. When we go, we enjoy the culture too. It's just the food and everything is wonderful.
I got to ask you, what happened? I think it was 3 or 4 years ago that there were a huge number of people that had succumbed, that had died after being at different resorts in the DR. Did they ever get a handle on what that was? Like poisoning or something?
Yeah, it was bootlegged liquor. So people were putting them in wonderful bottles, but just making their own sauce, and it was awful, and it was poisonous, and it was literally killing people.
Yeah.
How funny! I was just reading they stopped a shipment of bootleg liquor in Greece yesterday or something. It was like the Coast Guard raided a boat, raided
It must
a
have
ship,
come from Italy, I'm sure.
and it was packed with bootleg liquor, and that's a very big issue because they do have methane and alcohol, methanol, and you know how dangerous methanol can be.
So I'm not really kidding about the Italians because there was a period of time for probably over 30 years, every 3 or 4 years, they're getting nailed, whether it was going to be in the wine or else in their prosecco's or something else, the water, whether it was the benzene, whether it was whatever they're putting in.
I remember
propylene glycol, I think, they're putting in at one point.
San Pellegrino had benzene issue. And also some of the old, you remember the old Chiantis in the flask?
Yep.
Some of those also had benzene.
Yep.
Interesting, yeah.
Things happen.
Well, that they do.
So at some point you're going to retire. Not for 20 years probably, but at some
don't
point
say
you're going to
that.
retire.
Don't say that, Bob.
You're going to stay in the Milwaukee area? Going to go somewhere else? Going to go to the DR? Going to go back to Mexico? What do you think?
We're always going to have a home here in Milwaukee. We've already talked. My wife and I talked about it. We're going to, if we do move, we're going to snowbird it. We're definitely, the summers here are unmatched.
Oh, the summers are great here.
And the falls. What a beautiful September. Good Lord.
My wife is a warm weather person.
Sure.
She likes it hot.
Yeah.
Not just warm. I'm sorry, I shouldn't say warm weather. Hot weather.
Yeah.
She loves it when it's 90. That's her perfect temperature. Now that's not mine.
No, me
I'm a
neither.
sweater. I sweat. So I'm a natural sweater. So it's tough. It's tough when we do this. But she agrees. She just loves the summer. There's so much to do. I mean, so many ethnic festivals and festivals in general, and everything opens up, and outdoor dining, and it's just a wonderful, beautiful place to be. So we will always maintain a residence in Milwaukee, no doubt about it, no matter what. So
one of the most I read it first in the book and then I experienced this is when you fly over the island of Hispaniola and you go over the border between Haiti and the Dominican Republic. It's like a clear demarcation. One side is green and the other side is desert.
Tan, yeah.
Yeah, and it's because back in the old days when there were two dictators, Trujillo and Papadoc, Trujillo for some reason was a naturalist and protected the trees, while Papadoc on the contrary would skim on fuel and people would be forced to use wood as fuel.
Sure. Well, he acquired his $400 million personal wealth in France.
Precisely.
Sure.
So, it's like the same island, and as you can see the border. It's almost like a straight line of green versus gray and mud and. Interesting how a politician can affect a country for centuries to come.
Sure. Or a city.
Florida City.
You think about New Orleans, and obviously there's been a settlement there since the 1600s, and yet they have always been underwater, euphemistically and otherwise, and yet they continue to rebuild, and they keep coming back and keep coming back. And you might suggest that at some point other rational minds might have said, let's move 50 miles that way or something.
Right.
But yet they persevere and they do that, and you could probably suggest at some point that God really doesn't like New Orleans because it's constantly besieged by something. And then you can look at Haiti the same way. It's like, that part of the island is just a no man's land, right? And you could have an earthquake on the island and it doesn't impact the DR, but it certainly impacts the Haitian side. So you would think that as that fault line might be there, it's going to have ramifications, but it just doesn't seem to. So
it was interesting because
Venice is the same way. It's been sinking for the last 1,000 years, but somehow they managed to.
it's all those Chanel stores they have. So like 12 Chanel stores within a mile. It's crazy.
It was interesting when we were in the DR.
Yeah.
We were talking about Haiti and the differences between their governments, which is vast.
Yep.
And
Now.
right. Speaking of when we went this year, and we discussed some politics with them, and they just said, they were like, the Haitian people and the Dominican Republic people have no beef at all. They said, it's our governments. It has nothing to do with us. And like, we welcome the Haitians with open arms here. And I was surprised to hear that because I didn't know the politics there, but I thought that was surprising. I thought it'd be very different. But it's like when I was in Cuba.
I'm sure that's also part of the rhetoric. I'm sure there are tensions.
Sure.
But I know, again, speaking of the history, I mean, Trujillo was a brutal dictator. He wasn't benevolent by any means, but he did that one thing correctly, which was protected the environment. And it's amazing because, come to think about the history of Haiti, it was the first country ever, the first independent country the first successful slave rebellion in the history of the world.
1700s.
Yeah. And it's an incredible, glorious history, and it falls on the wrong person.
Cuba had a marvelous history as well for many years until this recent regime that doesn't go away. And I don't know if you caught this in the last piece that we did on Cuba, but they assassinated 6 other generals in a 2-week period about a month ago. And of course, they've got a complete lockdown on the island, so there's not supposed to be a passage of news going back and forth, and the internet's down, whatever else. And because I was supposed to be there doing that cooking for that art installation in September, obviously that didn't take place. But what a no man's land it is right now, and again, it's going to be up to the actual people to revolt and rebel and take control. And there's a movement with the musicians that have got people up virtually every night, and they're out in the streets and protesting. And every night, the police are there beating them down, with truncheons. They're not shooting them at this point; they're just beating them down. But they have assassinated not just the generals, but other people that were part of that military, because the police are against the military, and they're both against the people. And then you got the secret police that's against everybody.
That's the problem. That's the problem. Castro built a very powerful secret police in Cuba, and that is they are the real power. And Raúl, despite the fact that he was Fidel's brother, he tried to liberalize somehow, but apparently this new guy now is one of the old-fashioned, die-hard hawks.
It's my interpretation that Raúl has abdicated, but he still sits at that table, even though he doesn't have any power anymore. He still sits at that table for all the meetings and for everything else. He's not giving up anything, and the kids, the grandkids aren't giving up anything either. The people really have to take control of that thing.
Yeah.
Well, when I was there was internet, It was limited, but I mean, there were pockets of places that.
Sure.
I mean, there were literally
The Cohiba Hotel, that right.
Yeah, there's
standing outside.
Standing outside, yeah.
Right.
You didn't have Wi-Fi, right? So we were one of those people with our phones and doing that. But things I thought were going in the right direction. I thought because people were starting to get a little more of a voice,
Sure.
starting to speak up a little bit. But one interesting thing that somebody said to me, and I don't know if this is a reflection of most people there, maybe you have a little more insight, but a gentleman I spoke to said, if most of the Cuban people, if we woke up tomorrow and saw an American flag being waved, we would be fine with that. And I was shocked. I just had no idea. I didn't know. I didn't come in with any preconceived notions of how they would actually perceive, Americans. But I was shocked when I heard that. I was like, really?
Well,
And I don't know. Again, that was just one person.
all the countries that went through very oppressive communist regimes are now staunchly pro-American, but it's a natural reaction. I'm not surprised at all.
My takeaway is I found the same thing by and large for most people. They don't have any animus towards America whatsoever. They want to be westernized to a degree. They don't want to have McDonald's and Burger King like in Puerto Rico every 3 blocks. But
Neither do I.
No, good dear God, no.
Right?
Nor here.
Right.
But they do want to. They want to embrace the world today, not as it was 70 years ago. And that's going to be one of the sticking points. But once those people all get together and do something, at some point, unfortunately, there's going to be bloodshed. There always is in these things, right? But at one point, the military or the army, or the military or the police, are going to side with the citizens against the other faction. It's going to have to happen that way. And then you're going to have a transition. You'll see a change taking place.
Well, and it just, we did not find one single person, and I mean this, any animosity towards Americans. It was a beautiful experience. The people are beautiful there. It was beautiful, inside and out.
Oh yeah,
beautiful. We had such a wonderful time there. We actually literally were like, God, it'd be really nice to retire someday.
Did you?
Really, it's a beautiful country.
Was there any? I understand that you felt it, the presence of the police or the secret police.
Unquestionably.
So,
yes.
did you feel at any point sort of like intimidated by the presence, or?
I didn't once.
I didn't either, not at all. And even though different times that I've been there, they try to restrict you to be within like 3 blocks of your hotel or something, or if you're there for a symposium, you can't be X amount of space away from that. I never had anyone following me, and I'm acutely aware of that. So I also didn't portray myself like a tourist, and I think that's the difference if you do that. And obviously, you're a citizen of the world. You've been so many places that you already know what I'm talking about because you go and do what you want to do, right? You blend in.
Yeah.
It's those people that don't blend in that are the ones I think that are followed in something else and whatever.
I mean, we were able to travel freely. We had no restrictions. Now, this is under the Obama administration.
Right.
So things were really starting to open up.
Yeah, that was the detente, whatever.
Right.
Aren't you shocked that Biden hasn't gone back to that?
I'm very shocked. It was such a great experience, and it really is a country that everyone should be able to experience if they
Absolutely.
want to. And it was just a beautiful cultural experience for us, and possibly the best I've ever had. Probably the best I've ever had. And I've done some traveling too, not like you were.
Were you able to just drive in freely in other cities, like far away, like Santiago?
We went to Vinales.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, we went to. We were on the very west side of Cuba. We went to.
I never drove there. Did you drive there?
I didn't drive myself, but yeah,
Right,
we hired drivers
Right.
and things, and we went wherever we wanted to, like without any restrictions. And there was some police presence, but nothing intimidating. And I never felt unsafe from the people, from the police when I was there. It was.
I wonder how it is now with the new regime or whatever.
I
It's not
would-
really the new regime, but
I would suspect that
The
it's
new
not
face
as
of
open
everything.
and it's not as welcoming as we have experienced in the
agree.
past. I do think that by June of next year, and arbitrarily I'm just saying by midsummer of next year, so a year from now, I think it will be a different experience. I do think that this pressure is going to blow at some point, and I think that people will.
The financial pressure is enormous.
Yes.
Enormous, and they need tourism. And let's face it, they need American tourism.
Well,
Because as much as European tourism goes there, they still have to travel 6,000 miles.
Right.
Americans just literally have to swim there.
Right? No, it's true.
you know.
It's true.
So Raul was educated in Russia, so he has a strong backstory with how the Russians have operated, and that's obviously it's a very insular type of a thing. And I would take that though over the Chinese influence, and unfortunately they're having some kickback economically right now, and I think that's going to stall them a bit, which I think is important for the people to get their own foothold and move ahead.
Well, you know how the Chinese are now buying countries, basically.
Absolutely.
I saw that in Africa very, very vividly. Interesting.
Well,
No,
this has been a fun little talk. Where are we going next?
Wherever you want. Take us there.
Europe. I've got to get back to Europe at some point, and soon.
told you
What's Europe going to be like?
You have to come.
Well, Greece, absolutely.
You have to come to Greece, absolutely.
We'll come and film
Well,
there.
you have to see your ancestral background.
Hey, my wife has been all over you, Evan.
No, but-
she was like, I'm serious. We're gonna take him up on all that stuff he said about. We're gonna hang out with the people he wants us to. We're gonna do everything. We're gonna do it right, man. She was like, oh yeah. She's like, we're doing this. And she wants to go to Greece in the worst way, and so do I.
The second time I went to Greece. I actually went to Greece because I'm trying to buy a property there, and the bureaucracy is very slow. So I went there and I made an offer that was officially accepted, and we wrote a preliminary contract. So I have to go back sometime before the end of the year for the closing. But
If you're available, why don't we all go together and spend a week or two there? And
it's going to be winter,
I'll see
so
if
we're
Patrick's
not going to
available.
go on the beach. We're not going to be on the beach in swimming suits. But it's going to be fun. We can see the beaches.
Oh, okay. So
we're not going to be in swimming suits. The weather is going to be nice.
So March then, is that the time to go?
We can go the winter. Actually, winter is fun. We can if you want to see the food and the culture and the wines. Winter is the best time.
And the sheep don't care what time of day, right?
Let me ask you this: is it warmer there than it is here?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, okay,
absolutely.
that's all my wife needs to know.
Think of Greece. Think of Greece as something between like the Carolinas, rather.
Okay, great.
So it's not Florida, but it's not.
But it's always
but it's definitely not Milwaukee.
Perfect. Now grab one of the Shakers. We'll do a little cooking with blondes thing there.
So fun.
You have your wife, and I'm sure you'll find your own devices there, Evan. We'll make sure that Patrick's available and carve out 10 or 14 days, and we'll do it then.
We should do this.
Excellent.
That'll be fun.
Built-in tour guide. I like that a lot.
The best way to travel. Been to France quite a few times, and 2 times I was there. One of my really good friends lived there, and that was built-in tour guide. Stayed with her, and it was amazing. It was so fun. It is obviously like the language barrier is something that is real, and it's so much easier to overcome, obviously, and get things and go to places.
It's too early for me. Thank you. Don't laugh.
Are we on camera? Okay.
Again, my boss might be watching this.
Okay.
You're not on the clock.
International studies.
But yeah, built-in tour guides, the best. And I mean, you're so fun.
Oh, thank
We
you.
just have a blast. We just have a
No,
blast.
we will. I know we will. I know we will.
And Baba goes without saying, you're amazing. I mean,
And
Keep saying it now.
Party, right?
Drink some more. Drink some more. Yeah. Cool.
I have this friend of mine. He's actually my lawyer in Greece, but he's the kind of person that you drive 5 hours away from Athens. They're in the middle of a small village, and he goes, "Oh, there's a very good restaurant here." They go, "What?" "Yeah." And we stop in this little place in the middle of nowhere. We go in, and everybody, the cook, the cleaning lady, comes out and goes, Takis, you're back! and they hug him, and we sit down, and we have like the most amazing meals.
That is the coolest.
Well, cooking from the heart. I mean, that's what this is all about, the hospitality portion, right? That we unfortunately have really lost in this country in so many ways. Little bastions, but that connectivity, I think, is not what you find there on a regular basis.
Yeah. And that's where you find the good food, because if you go to the tourist places, the food is awful.
It's tourist food.
No, it's tourist food.
Right.
It's awful.
Right.
It's like the same food you go in a Greek restaurant in Milwaukee.
Right. Euros.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, just like Cuba with the government
Yep.
run,
Yeah.
government run restaurants or the independent ones. You go to the independent ones.
No,
That's where the best food is always.
Exactly. If you know where to go, the food is amazing, incredible, because fresh ingredients done,
Done right.
done simply,
Yeah.
Right.
with nice,
And simple is the best. No question about that either. Cool.
Thumbs up, by the way, to Woodinville. Wow.
It is a great whiskey. It is a great whiskey,
Very, very good. Very, very good.
and it is a bourbon, so it is corn and everything.
51% corn. Yeah.
It's smooth
Wow.
and tasty. And
So this is one of those situations where I'm glad that they changed the nomenclature restrictions that bourbon used to have to come from Bourbon, Kentucky. So as long as it comports in at least 51% corn, it can be a bourbon.
Yeah, there are a couple of
With the barrel as well.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
Right.
The barrel has to be charred, but yeah. The funny thing, anyway, yes. Yes, I was reading that about Jack Daniels, which not my favorite at all, but Jack Daniels never says bourbon in it. But technically, they have the right to call it bourbon because it comports, but they chose to be different, and they don't put
Tennessee
the word.
whiskey.
Yeah, they don't put, yeah, they don't put the word.
Monica.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's its own little badge of pride.
Panache
Yeah,
or
yeah,
something.
yeah, whatever. Marketing ploy, because frankly,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Sure. That's what it is. This is a marketing play, yes. But
Their General Jack is quite a good product, by the way. Yeah.
oh, there's different levels of Jack Daniels, too. No doubt
Actually,
about
I
that.
tried one of the new high-end wild turkey, which is amazing.
Turkey.
But the very high end, it was like an $85 bottle, but it was the rare breed number 2 or something like that. It was actually very good. I mean, they're coming back. You remember how popular they were at one time?
And rightfully so. Even Jim Beam, that's a quality
Oh,
product.
Jim Beam, yeah. The black label is pretty good. It's very
That's how
tasty.
bourbons used to taste 40 years ago.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
exactly.
Keep that recipe going, right?
Why not?
It's a legacy.
So these nice little Cuban cigars. I mean, this is the Trinidad I just finished off, which you have as well. That's what Fidel switched to when Cohibas weren't powerful enough for him. I love these things.
Very good.
So I'm going back to a Gloria that I started up beforehand. Here's one for you as well. So this is the original Gloria Cubana when Carrillo's family was still in Cuba. Now, obviously, the government owns this. And again, the reality is that the Spanish really own all the major Cuban brands. And that's been 50 years. So there's different types of Cuban cigars that you get throughout the world. It's just like Guinness is brewed in 17 different formulations, depending where it's going. And the Cubans do the same thing with the way they construct their cigars. And I think that even better than the ones you get in Cuba are the Cuban cigars that go through Spain, because that is, I think, more of the original recipe that is used for them.
I bought some cigars in Spain were superb. I agree, and they have a special relationship.
Well, if you go to, when you go, and everyone should go to Cuba when it opens up again, the Cuban people identify closest with Spain as opposed to any islands in the Caribbean. They're Westerners that are on this island.
Right.
So,
Well, and again, the same gentleman I was speaking to, he was very wise. Even he was talking to me about, he's like, you will never find an actual Cuban anywhere in the world now, because they have been completely overrun by so many different countries at various points in history that he's like, there are no native Cubans anymore, really native Cubans.
well,
He's
Greeks and the Turks and everybody
Yeah.
else, Egyptians and everything during different points.
Sure.
Yeah, of course. I mean, there is
It made sense.
Arguably, with the exception of some remote tribes, with the exception of some remote tribes in the Amazon and some
Sure.
islands in the Pacific, arguably there is no pure pure bred race anywhere on Earth right now.
So Hawaii is probably 75% or more Japanese anyway. And it's just been generationally.
Correct.
Yes,
We
absolutely.
are all one people after all.
Oh, absolutely, we are. There's no doubt about
More
it.
people should appreciate that, and that appreciation comes from going out and seeing things around the world. We have more in common with other people than we have uncommon with them.
And that is why I am a firm supporter of young change programs. As it used to be the Peace Corps, used to be change program. It's not the same, but it used to be change programs like educational exchange programs, universities having one semester abroad, and all that stuff. I think for a young person, there's no education better than going and living in a different country and realizing exactly what it says, that in the end we're all the same.
Maybe that's a litmus test that the next leader that we vote in office, the city of Milwaukee as our mayor, should be somebody who spent time in other places.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be a bad thing. It wouldn't be a bad thing. And the people that usually say we're the greatest country in the world have never been anywhere else.
Right.
Yeah, correct.
I'm not saying we're not. I'm not going to argue that. I think it's a ridiculous point because what are you talking about? What makes us the greatest?
Yeah,
what
precisely.
I mean?
Yeah.
That's ridiculous, But most people that are just like, America, 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 like haven't left America.
Correct.
You need to see what's out there.
Correct.
It's an amazing world.
Correct.
And I love America, but
yeah,
there's
precisely.
a lot of amazing places to go and really experience a lot of different cultures and beautiful people.
And if anything, you appreciate what is good about America,
Correct.
but then you understand to distinguish what is good about America. But you appreciate it more when you travel and when you see other
Great way to
oppressive
put it.
regimes and
That's a
everything.
great way to put it. Yeah.
So, there is a slogan out there that says, "If you hate America, leave this country." I do not disagree with that. Sure, if you hate America, leave this country, but it doesn't mean that you cannot love America and still have some problems with America. I love America, but there's things that potentially can be better. But that doesn't mean I don't love America.
Of course.
Right. I mean, but the people that are saying that make it black and white.
Yeah, but
It's
yeah,
gotta be
they're
one way or
trying.
the other.
Yeah, exactly. They try to make it black and white, and
Correct.
it never is black and white. No,
If you have a problem with something in your country, you just want to make it better,
precisely.
and then people criticize you for that. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Nothing's perfect in any country, and things can always be better. And you should be striving to do that. Why
Absolutely.
And that is the litmus of a great country where people strive to make it even better.
Correct.
The litmus test.
There we are.
And and are allowed to, as opposed to regimes where you're not allowed.
Free in America is a beautiful thing.
not? True. This is very true.
My joke for years is that seeing things, doing things here are things that you can't do in Afghanistan or Iraq or Saudi Arabia. And even though that women now have the ability, in at least in Saudi Arabia, to drive a car and to go to school, it's not as free as we are here by any stretch of the imagination, nor will it probably ever be.
Correct.
It's interesting because the prince now, the new prince in Saudi Arabia, he tried to woo the West by certain very minor liberalizations, and one of that is that they allowed women to drive. But under the ruse of his liberalizing, he's done some way worse things in consolidating power and
Killing
and
journalists.
killing journalists, etc., etc., etc.
Yeah. Nice. Patrick, any questions or comments? I think we've solved all our problems right here.
We solved all of those problems in what, 90 minutes? Or
I hope that those 4 people watching actually take this out.
And I hope the makers of Woodinville realize that this is the solution to the problems of the world.
All can be fixed. Just a bottle of
Absolutely.
Woodinville. Unbelievable.
And a fine cigar.
And
a
fine cigar.
Coupled with a fine cigar.
Absolutely.
By the way, the pairing is immaculate, by the way.
Well,
It was
thank you,
awesome.
thank you. So, friends, thank you for tuning in and watching us. And if you have any questions or comments, please send them right along to shakersmilwaukee@gmail.com. I'll be happy to address them. An honor to take up a few minutes of your time and to enjoy the interaction. I hope you got something out of this. Be good to yourselves, be good to the people you love, and the people that you meet on the street. And if you like it, please subscribe. Cheers.